Yeah. I'm feeling like a star, you can't stop my shine. I'm loving Cloud City, my head's in the sky. I'm solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo, I'm hunting solo. Yeah, I'm feeling good tonight. Finally feeling free and it feels so right. Oh, time to do the things I like. Gonna see a princess.
All right, what is up, everybody? Welcome back to Golden Dice Podcast, episode number 55. As always, my name is Jack. I'm your host. I'm dead on the inside after this Nova, but with me, I have some people to help carry me through this episode. And from the team, we have Eldis and Scott. How are you guys tonight?
Doing great.
Bubble any harder?
What, couldn't do what any harder?
Could you bubble any harder?
Oh, could I bubble any harder? No. Actually, I think this is about perfect.
No.
Oh, I could have started 5-0.
You could have started 5-0. Yeah, that is bubbling harder.
Yeah. But also with us, we have Mended, the man, the myth, the legend, originally from us, but then discard reroll, tried to steal him, but now we got him back. How you doing, Mended?
I'm good. Fresh off of watching you guys, I guess, technically fail at Nova.
Yeah, fail.
I blame Scott. He said he was going to go and then didn't go.
My predictions didn't even come true. Brian didn't knock you out.
But your prediction of me dying or having a bubble game was true.
It was, yeah.
And then I died against my best possible matchup.
That is the amusing part.
I'm definitely over it, guys. Trust me.
You actually. I mean, I think not like an hour prior to that, you had complained that you had not gotten any Java matchups.
Yep.
And then.
Hey man, you know what? That's what I get for being overconfident. I sat down. I was like, "This is one I wanted. I got this."
You did. I mean, I don't want to like go quote from like our group chat, but it was something along the lines of, "All right, we'll just say Java auto win."
I mean, in test. I mean, granted, we had limited testing, but in everything that I've talked to, people I've talked to had more testing from us with Palp. It was just like, if you get Java, you win. And then both desperate measures and both Bactas were at the bottom of my deck, and I cried myself to sleep.
Yep.
And I'm still crying.
All right, so to our listeners, here's the one thing you should not do when you're prepping for a tournament. Decide Wednesday for a Friday event. Was it Friday? Saturday event. Decide Wednesday what you're playing Saturday. Try deciding the previous Wednesday.
And I get that, but part of me is like, okay, if I roll Ceresu special against Joe in an earlier round, I would have beaten him, and we go to the next round.
I'm not disputing the deck.
Well, no,
I'm
but
saying
like,
that you needed more reps.
I know, but part of that is like, that's a reroll right there. The game where I lost against Han probably could have happened with any deck I was playing because it was his battlefield, where I could have mean streets claimed. And then the last game was just my deck cut in such an awful way.
Yeah, but getting to the one reroll, there's like a summation of things that got you to that one point where it was a reroll, and maybe there could have been other things in between that could have made it so that you were on the better end of that situation where it's like he needs the reroll and misses it.
I mean, that's fair. I think against Joe, I think I only missed a Wado power action, which could have been relevant, but other than that, I felt it was played tight.
That's a reroll.
Yeah. Down to both rerolls on my part.
I think most of your testing with Palpatine came the night before.
Yeah, that's fair. But like, I'm also, I don't know. I find it hard to just lock into a deck, not from the part of like, I don't want to commit to anything. Like, I'm not scared of. If I was as committed as Joe, like I wouldn't have a problem 2-3 weeks out saying I'm running this deck. But for me, part of like choosing a deck for a tournament is also making a meta call like for that tournament. So I'm fine jamming like, 10 to 20 games with like 5 different decks instead of 100 games with one deck, and then trying to pick the deck that's going to be the best call for that tournament. And going back, I would pick Palp again. I think he was a really good call, but things just didn't go my way at certain points, and I had misplays, and that was that. But overall, I was happy with that. But I also don't think. I think Worlds actually last year was the only time I ever stuck to a deck for prolonged.
And what was the result?
The worst result I've ever had ever. Right. Don't stop trying to go against my points.
I have a question for you, Jack, that isn't Scott. Do you think going forward that A, the Palp deck is still viable, and B, do you think there are other versions of it like the older like Palp Watt, do you think that sort of look is still viable, or do you think like if you're going to play a Palp deck and you have reasonable belief in it as a meta call, is Palp Watt the way to go, and is there anything you change about the deck?
I was actually really happy with the 30. I mean, there's certain things that you could probably change. Like afterwards, like I don't think I really played Neiman to like a full effectiveness, Neiman Mastery. So I wouldn't mind like dropping that for a second Force Focus, which has 2 resource sides and 2 specials. So it can do similar things of what I was hoping. So I mean that would be a thing. As for Metacall, I still think it sits fine because like the decks it loses to, Satine generally beats, but Palp also has a solid game into Satine and Jabba as well. My issue with going to red is just like losing DM. I think DM is like that good of a card to swing those matchups. Like if Watt power actions and Entourage and you DM it, they're so far behind. Or even the Satine, you can deal with the damage coming from supports. It only gets out of hand if they're getting 4 or 5 off Entourage specials. And DM obviously helps prevent those things. So, and it's also like, yeah, I mean, you could say, okay, Satine's just going to play upgrades. It's like, well, what if they only draw Entourage in their first hand or something like that? Obviously they're going to mulligan for the matchup correctly, but I think DM and to a lesser extent Free For All are just super critical to what Palp can do. And red does offer good stuff. Like you get best defense to put stuff on the Mahdi or Watt. You get logistics if you want to go that way, but Forbidden Lord probably just does that. But also like counterintelligence and probe and things like that are super, super relevant within red. But
you could run what's it called, Blockade, if you really wanted to.
Yeah, Blockade, and then
as your like pseudo desperate measures replacement.
Yeah. So those are all certainly options, but at least I like desperate measures because it at least makes them spend the money, which is nice.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
It's just so much value if you hit it before they get any resolves.
Yeah, and it's value if you make them like if they rolled out and then focus into what they want and then you desperate measures it.
Yep.
Always feels good.
And if I remember correctly, I don't think you ran Force Wave in your 30.
No.
Okay. Do you think that because of the prevalence of these very strong 3-white decks, do you think that's a card worth reconsidering, or is it just too high of a target, too easily overshadowed by some of the better things you can play?
Yeah, I think I'd rather of the upgrade list, I was really happy with how I think we were at 16. Aside from Neiman, which I said I would swap for Force Focus. I don't know if there's anything else I would touch. Force Wave, I don't really want to spend a resource each time to be resolving the special side. And overall, I think I'd rather just kind of ping people and soak up until I get like a Fatal Blow kill. So I'm not overly concerned with that. And Ewoks as well, like I'm not overly concerned with.
You're not getting anywhere if you're force waving them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like I just think there's better things I could be doing against Ewoks.
It seems like Palpatine, obviously he was an initial thing, like, around the set was people like, oh, this could be good. And then it seemed like those decks were running Force Wave. They dropped off, and then the second the decks shedded the Force Wave, they started to perform again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Force Waves is just in a tough spot, too. Like, even when I was messing with Blue Hero post-Gen Con, because it kind of... Blue Hero was nice against the Chopper decks because it could shield up, but it just lost to Jabba, so it stopped. But even Force Wave in that was just not worth it.
I was playing around with Formidable in that deck a little bit, too. It's not bad.
Was that an ability? Or is that equipment? I don't exactly remember.
It's an ability.
Yeah, it's ability.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's the legendary from Way of the Force, right?
It's the Amazing Draft legendary.
Yeah, it's the one with Django on it.
Mm-hmm.
I actually don't think I own any of them, and I'm a collector.
No one does, Jack.
I own a bunch. I drafted them all the time because they're amazing.
Scott is the only person who owns them, so talk to Scott.
Upgrade ability.
Yeah, the die is super solid for the cost.
Yeah, a two shield side makes Shane wet in his pants. Eat himself.
It's also relevant into the game plan of like Palp of the shields as well.
Yeah, and
that special, not for nothing, deals damage and moves an equipment or weapon, right?
Yeah, it's super nice if you can like into droids. I don't know how often it would actually work out, but we live in a dream world here. Move it over and then kill the droid.
Yeah.
If you've sunk damage into, say, an R2 and they've put the an upgrade on Satine, we're talking like end of the round, they've already resolved, so they're not getting anything else out from it. It's like, all right, well, I'll just ping Satine for 1, move the bowcaster over to R2, and then
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
C3PO, any of them. You know, once you've already sunk so much into R2, they're probably liable to deploy it somewhere else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a 2 cost. So that's another thing I think with Force Wave is it's a 3 cost, and keeping stuff low with Watto and let you just build your health up so fast.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
like, Force Storm, just even with its errata, is a lot of upside.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, Force Storm was still super clutch, but actually since I played against droids all day, I never actually got to the I'm rolling out like 12 dice with Palp because everybody was just disrupting me.
Disrupting it.
And so
Yeah.
it was funny. We talked at the end of the day with Flockton and Brian, who also ran the same 30. And they're like, yeah, I got to roll like 10 dice. It was crazy. Like, I got Force Storm out. I was like, man, you got to play things? That's fun.
Yeah, well, I mean, while the top cut looked fairly decent as far as the breakdown, there's a lot of people being like, no, I just played against droids all day.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think droids may be a little on the nose, and the field is like a huge amount of droids, and that's just what you have to wade through.
Yeah, and I mean, part of it is, I don't know, like sometimes I feel like people underestimate Joe from Honestly Sarcastic from the Hyperloops. His reach sometimes. Like if he posts a deck list and he's like, yeah, I'm running this. Oh, I didn't do well. Yeah, I'm still going to run this because I think it's that good. I just need to learn to move on. Like, I think that's going to put, like, a lot of people, even casuals, onto this deck, and that's what I was expecting.
He's being the most declarative about what he thinks is the best, whereas everybody else is still either actually up in the air about what they think is the best or not willing to, like, plant that big of a flag into it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and then that spreads to, all the content creators generally share things and test with each other, too, so.
Especially because he was on the same deck since Gen Con.
Yeah, so knowing it had that matchup.
And not everyone's willing to put themselves out there and look stupid later on like we are. So.
Yeah. Hey, man, our top and bottoms are great.
How did you guys feel
agree,
about...
100%.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mended.
How did you guys feel about Watto into like the Chopper matchup, like with him disrupting, and were you able to still generate a ton of resources?
Yeah, so that was a big thing. A lot of the games, like I did play a Chopper Droids along the way that I was able to beat, and some of the Satine matchups I was able to get money back. Like if I can get that +2 resource side off, it can get pretty ridiculous, especially like I mean, even if I get 1 resource off, right, and then I'll play a bartering, and then I can power action that die into the pool, and then just really make a few bucks back that way. So, like, there were a few games where I did get disrupted first round, but I was still able to play 2 upgrades and still be okay with my turn 1. So it certainly, like, wasn't ideal situations, but with Watto being able to make money, it really could help me springboard certain things in round 2, which wouldn't be possible if you're running somebody like Mahdi. Watt could help you as well. Since he has 2 resource sides and focus. But that +2 resource side on Watto is just pretty ridiculous.
Well, it comes down to, like, the only, that's some of the issue people are saying, like, all right, with droids as present as they are and the fact that they may disrupt you as much as they can, the only decks that can play are decks that are either can play without needing resources or are generating so much resources that even if they get disrupted, they're still at a very comfortable level of resources.
Right.
Yeah, and if I can, like I said, if I can springboard, like if I can play a 2-drop turn 1, or a 2 and a 1, or whatever it might be, or a 1 and 1, if I can get into a situation where I can then overwrite Palp Saber and get like 2 money back, like if I could overwrite it for free, get 2 money back, and then play things again, it's that is a pretty good situation as well too. So Palp Saber was pretty much like that, and Watto just make this deck ramp so hard. So the games I found myself not finding Palpatine Saber were the games I was usually struggling a little bit for cash.
Yeah, I think the Watt version struggles just because they can't build up his health and with the abilities as fast. It takes forever, and it's inconsistent, and you hate to get rid of your focus for the resources, and you don't have to do that with Watto.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Without the Force Storm being abusable like it was, I think Watto's usefulness dropped off significantly for this pair.
At least Mahdi can protect Palpatine while
Right. That's what I I actually think the Mahdi version is better than the Watt version, and I know a lot of people disagree with that, but I've seen just the ability to, the survivability of it with Sorsu and Mahdi is pretty good.
Yeah, Mahdi's pretty annoying.
Oh yeah,
Like I took a loss at Gen Con to a Palp Mahdi deck, and it was, Mahdi was annoying. I mean, it did come down to the fact that like I used 3 soft mitigation cards round 1 and still ate the maximum amount of damage. But like Mahdi didn't make my, had I dealt my maximum damage, then I would have been fine. But Mahdi had prevented that.
Yeah, his 1 discard side is like absurd with his ability, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so I mean, I did do an article on it. If you want to see the list as well, you can head over to our Facebook page and check that. And I will say that, I'm happy with bringing Palp. Dodging, like, if I brought Satine and still had the same schedule, I think I would have gouged my eyes out.
That would have been pretty bad. Yeah.
What was it? 6 Satine decks?
I think it was 6.
6, and then a Chopper, and then a Han.
Mike could
No.
comment if
So
he
it was
had
5, and then a
gone
Chopper,
5.
then a Han. Yeah, either way.
Yep.
And Palp is a lot of fun. So and I know a lot of people have been wanting a 2-wide variant, so that's awesome. And again, a big part of that was Bobby Sapphire from the Hyperloops helping guide myself in the list and Palp and
Shout
things
outs
like that.
to
So
Bobby Sapphire.
yeah, shout out to Bobby. I've always loved his
gained
list.
from trying to go for the personal Triple Crown by participating in X-Men.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
his butt.
He killed it.
yeah, top 4. He got his Worlds invite. Running Palp actually.
Mhm.
Next week.
Help shuttle.
But
Still one of the best ships.
yeah. All right. So on our sheet, actually, I'm going to swap these two. We'll talk about the Nova format, and then we can get into the meta talk because that could probably be a little bit longer of things. But so the format, in case anybody didn't know, that the format ended up getting switched from 8 rounds with top 16 cut with strengths of schedule. It was 8 rounds with just X and 2 cut make it, which in my opinion is a lot better. There still could be an argument for 1 less round, I think, because we had 107 people. But I understand that if I say I would prefer 7 rounds, that would just be a salty guy
I would
who missed.
prefer to make the cut.
Yeah, exactly. I'm fine. I never mind 8 rounds of Destiny. I mean, it ended up breaking almost to a clean 16 anyways. There were 17 people that were X and 2.
Yeah.
But overall, I think the X and 2 cut is like the prime format for Destiny, other than I guess regionals, but these larger events, Nova, Gen Con, Worlds, all of them being like X and 2 to move on, I think is ideal. Euros and all that as well.
Yep.
Anything
agree.
that gets rid of strength of schedule as a tiebreaker that can end someone's day. Hey, strength of schedule is going to decide if you have to be in a play-in, but then you have agency.
Yeah, I mean, it's still
Whereas-
relevant and you get a buy, right? If there's like 20 people or 21 people that make day 2, now it's super relevant because now a few people have to do play-ins where, the other top half get a buy, which is always nice. But, this one ended up
But it's
not
just-
mattering. But
it's not ending your day.
yeah, imagine being that
You're-
17th guy.
Yeah, your day is not done because you won your first round. That guy proceeded to lose his second round and decided, you know what? There's other things to do at these gaming conventions that I want to go do. So I'm going to leave with my 0-2 record and contribute nothing. And it's
Yep.
like, can't be mad at the guy. It's his vacation, their own time, his or her own time. So you don't want to be mad at them. You don't want to be a situation where you're like crossing your fingers. Oh, I hope that opponent does drop because they're actually probably going to go 0-7 because they were really terrible. Or I hope my opponent doesn't drop because they might go 5-3 back into it. It's like that's just
Yeah.
strength of schedule.
Having strength of schedule bombed out by, maybe you beat someone round 1 and then they had to drop, or, having your strength of schedule bolstered because you beat someone who ended up doing really well. It just ends up being a negative experience for
It's a
anyone who's on that bubble side of things.
Especially for an event that's 2 days. It's spread across 2 days.
Yeah.
It is a 100% coin flip.
Definitely. All right, Mended, you had at some point, I know that you wanted to bring up specifically about the top cut structure of tiebreakers specifically. So I want to give that to you if you wanted to mention what was your opinion or thoughts on that you had.
I was just talking about the situation that Drew had that he ran into. So it wasn't necessarily a structure. I think the X and 2 cut was 100% the right thing to do. To get more people in the cut, I think, is better for big events. It just feels bad, you know? Yeah. I think X and 2 is fine. And then
there is a point when you're like, you know, when you even if you do just strength of schedule and you're extending down, and it's like you've got like a bunch of 5 and 3s making it, and it's like, all right, then you're starting to get into the realm of, you know, you don't really have to do all that well in a day to make the cut.
Yeah, I was more talking about like when you go to Top Cut and you're playing best of 3s, like the time limits and stuff. I don't know why we're 90 minutes to play 3 games. It just doesn't make sense. Like if we're playing 35-minute rounds, why are you playing less time in a best of 3 Top Cut when you still have to shuffle and all of that stuff in between each game? It just doesn't make sense to me. Plus them not having a clock that they could see according to what, you know, Drew was asking Gandork apparently what time was left, and, you know, the Gandork, I guess, talked to him and told him just to finish the round, because he had asked a minute and a half before that. But like, I think he should have just answered, but that's my opinion. Not that I have any issues with Gandork or anything, but just stalling, I guess, is an issue, but I don't necessarily think he was stalling.
No, I get it in that moment because you're constantly curious about what the time is.
Well, I think something that may have worked against Drew here, and obviously, like, I'm just saying this off the cuff and not saying, was the fact that he took a bathroom break earlier. So I think that would lead the judge to be inclined to be like, all right, no, I mean, like, anytime I've ever seen that where someone like has to leave the table for a legitimate reason, the judge always errs on the side of the opponent later if it comes down to timing.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they had added time because of that, and that's fine. I get that,
but it's like a soccer stoppage time where the ref's sitting there like,
discretion.
All right, your guy flopped around there for a while, so I'm gonna let this go on a little longer.
Yeah, but I also, in rewatching it personally, I thought that first game took like 55 minutes. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like why we let one game go so long to hurt the other, 2 in the best of 3 possibly. Like they should almost be timed separately, or I don't know. It just seems like a really bad way to do a Top Cut.
Yeah, it does. It does present a bit of an issue, and you see it in some other games. I know Pokemon has an issue with it because they're best of 3, and they do not give them enough time to play their games, especially in a game where you're searching your deck like 9 different times. Yeah. And it comes down to like one of their, main tournament skills is knowing when you need to concede, which is kind of a weird tournament skill to have.
Exactly. Like, and I know X-Wing has a similar issue when their finals is like a 2-hour final, and every other round is 75 minutes. So it's like, why are we changing the times when it goes to a bigger stage? You know what I mean? Like, why are we, if it's 35-minute rounds, why don't we keep each game of the best of 3 35 minutes? Hey, your time's up on this game. Then the bathroom break is no big issue because it's just in between the 2 games.
Mm-hmm. I think they would. I mean, it is one of those things where it's like they have these overarching tournament rules for everything from large events down to small events. And I know at like regionals, which typically, or whatever we're calling them now, primes, and store championships, they're single day events. So there is that impetus to keep the overall time of the event down. But then at cons, that's less of an issue, except if you're Nova and you start your Top Cut at noon.
For no apparent reason.
Yeah, that seemed ridiculous, but
it was. I mean, it obviously wouldn't have become a thing if someone didn't have to like leave, but it did, and that's the reason you don't start at noon.
Yeah. I mean, I've always thought that was kind of weird in that the time slots didn't add up, and I get it to the point like Scott just said of store champs and primes, but I mean they have separate rule structures for these different events. I don't get why they can't just say grands and up. The Top Cut operates in, 3 35-minute games or whatever it might be.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. Like for primes and store champs, like that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, like you have to make concessions for just the fact that nobody's going to want to be around for 12 hours in a day.
Yeah, I'm more talking about these bigger events that have a marshal. Like you know what I mean? Like that are run by FFG or whoever, Cascade, whatever. Like that needs to be changed.
It's also like pretty interesting just in general, the tiebreakers with the little like foible of Palpatine only counts as 10 health if he's dead.
Yep.
So there's that there's an honest like situation where you are more benefited by having him alive at 1 health than you would be if he was dead.
Well, I think the Palpatine player, even in like top 16, maybe killed his own Palp to win on tiebreakers or something like that.
I mean, that's 100. That is smart plays. Like that is 100% what you should do. But it is the type of thing where it's like, is that how we want that to work?
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, but it's like when you introduce a deck like Palp into the meta, like that's something like this. The issues are bound to pop up because I've never been a player. I've never gone to time in any game, in any. I mean, I'm sure like casual games we're playing these really just awful decks I have, but any like store chant or even weekly and above, I've never gone to time. And this tournament, I went to time twice. Not even like thinking about it or, actively being like, okay, there's 5 minutes left. I'm going to just take a bunch of shields. It's more just like the play style of Palp can lean into a longer game if I don't draw into fatal blows in a timely manner or you mitigate my Palp dice.
And you're playing into Satine, which
is a 3-wide,
has a Dartle effect.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not trying to give that player an excuse, but it's more just like it's issues like this are going to come up when these type of decks are going to come into it, and it probably should bring up that issue so we can actually talk about it and try to do some type of change, even if it's a change within the tiebreaker rules of like, I forget what the Gandork was saying, something along the lines of, part of the tiebreakers could be like the points of the characters remaining, something along those lines. I forget.
Yeah, so basically what you've killed, you get points for what you've killed.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, killing Palpatine gets you 18 points instead of 10, or whatever.
Like out of 30.
Yeah.
Yeah, so more like what X-Wing does with their points.
Yeah, but then you have to worry about like, what is that? Is there any effect there as far as like hiding points with plots?
Actually, I think he was saying where you get points for your characters
that
left
are
remaining instead of like that. So if I just had Watto left, I would have 12 points, and if you just had Satine left, you would have 10 points. Something along, I think it was that, which obviously favors like a middle type of deck, but is that like the worst thing in the world right now? I don't know.
Right.
They don't exist.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
they don't exist outside of Raylo.
And
outside of a deck that can break the fundamental deck building rules, they don't exist.
Yeah, Palp, baby.
He's not a middle.
Yeah,
he's a big little, Jack.
Whatever.
Get the lingo.
Unless you're Flockton and you're going to make, or was it Flockton or Brian that made someone play out the game
oh my gosh.
despite Palpatine dying well before any lethal damage was out and having nothing for Watto to do?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, all me, Brian, and Flock brought Palp, and this is my favorite story from the game. He was playing against Cody from AVG, and Cody kills his Palpatine. Flockton plays a Forbidden Lore. Cody does something. Flockton rolls out Watto, and then Cody kills Watto. He just like kept playing the game for no apparent reason. Like I was like, anytime Palpatine died for me, I just conceded. Like unless it was like going to time that round. But I was just like, you are a mad lad.
Like one redeploy weapon so you can pull it out.
Yeah, good luck. But it's funny that he played a Forbidden Lore. Like, there's no blue ability that you can play onto Watto. Flockton. I'm just glad that he didn't bring his Grievous Django deck.
That would have been bad.
Yeah. But he got there.
Tommy, oh God, that stream.
Yeah, that was rough. But yeah, I mean, I think changing something of the tiebreakers and the format of the games in Top Cut is something that needs to be addressed and looked at, and I don't think we would expect anything by Worlds, so hopefully there's not too many issues by Worlds, but yeah, we'll find out, I guess.
There is one area that I also wanted to touch on because I think it just got brought up over the course of all this stuff. You have decks like a Satine Droid that takes a lot of actions, and one of its goals is to basically take so many actions that the opponent runs out of things to do, and then you basically get a bunch of unopposed things. People will call that like slow playing, and it's something, especially like with the floor rules that we have now and the conversation that we're having, where it's like you need to make a distinction with that. That's not slow playing. Slow playing is playing unreasonably slow just as your general pace of play. Not taking a bunch of actions or anything. You could slow play with like whatever deck.
Yeah.
And then if you're purposely slow playing, you're stalling, which is a form of cheating.
Right. Like going into the tank on decisions that
Yeah.
shouldn't. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and
Yeah.
while we want to give players the ability to like think out their moves, they're part of the play skill is you do have to play at a reasonable pace. So it's like just because you are legitimately thinking the situation is legitimately difficult doesn't mean you can just sit there for a minute and decide of re-rolling one dice.
Yeah, this was back-to-back years for me where I got yelled at by a judge at Nova, dude. Last year,
Really?
I didn't
What
really
did you
get
do
yelled
this
at
time?
last year. Last year, Kowalski just called a judge on me for standing next to him.
That's-
Ooh. I mean, did you have the red shorts on?
I think so.
Yeah, I mean
Offensive.
those are awfully
Really,
aggressive, Jack.
that's fair.
Offensive.
Blood,
Offensive.
blood in his eyes.
What did you get a judge calling you this time?
Wasn't called, I guess, either. But I was playing against Joe, and the Gandork just came up and said, "Make a decision." I was like, okay.
I mean, sometimes I think that is, especially at that level of an event, that is something that a judge has to be willing to do because you do get people, you get like tunnel visioned. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure we've all
yeah.
done it. We sit there for like 5 minutes deciding on something. And you're like, this is a 35-minute round, sir. You cannot take 5 minutes to decide which of one of two cards you're discarding to reroll.
Yeah, mine was like weird in a sense. He had like a few dice in the pool. One was showing a discard. I had 2 cards in my hand. But this was the part where I had the Sarasu in the pool, and it's like if I reroll and hit the special, I guarantee I live the next round unless he removes it. But then that means he couldn't pay for the hired muscle, which eventually ended up killing me. So basically, I'm debating either discarding a reroll or like, do I play one of these in my hand or onto Palp because that also would net him, a health. And so I was trying to just do all the math in my head, and then I got yelled at.
But I think that's fine if you have there's a few turns within a game where you need to go into the tank and think about what you're going to do. And most of the other ones you're going to play quick because they're quick,
Well, you got to think from a judge's perspective. Odds are they're not saying they don't have the ability to know that either
Right.
previously you're playing quickly or subsequently you're going to play quickly.
Right, unless they're
So they
watching the
kinda
whole
have to-
match. Yeah, I agree.
They kind of even if they're watching the whole match, they don't know if you're going to from then on continue back to playing quickly. So they
I
have
see
to
what
like
you're
kind
saying.
of look at things in a snapshot and be like, all right, no decision can take you that long.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can't be
it's-
like, all right, I'll let you take extra time here because you're going to play quick. Like, they can't guarantee that type of thing.
Yeah, it's all like it's so hard to define the stalling and slow
It
play
is.
though. So it's like
It's a really, that's the difficult area, and that's like the thankless job of being a judge. It's a lot harder to make a call on if someone's like slow playing and they're just not aware of it, and you need to tell them, or they're stalling, they're actively cheating. Like that's super hard to call. It's like, that I don't begrudge anybody that's running an event having to make the call on. On the other hand, cheating in the finals over at Euros, where the guy got an extra card in his hand, knows he has an extra card in his hand, is keep on playing to win. I don't know why that wasn't called. That thing, I was just very confused about that entire situation, how it's essentially turning into you didn't win, so it doesn't matter that you cheated.
Got some.
Yeah, it's like we can only punish cheating if they win with it.
Which is
Otherwise,
patently
it's just embarrassing.
Scott's got some issues about Europe, I think.
no, it's just it's a weird situation where it got called right away on the stream, like honestly sarcastic, and the other two guys
They all
on it were
noticed
like, he has an extra card. He knows he has an extra card. He's putting that card down. Is he trying to hide that card? Oh wait, he's gonna play that card, and they were begging him not to do it. Did
Yeah.
it, and it got like pushed through. Like people running the event knew about it. Nothing happened. Gave the guy
Yeah.
a chance to like give his side of the story. His side of the story was, yeah, I knew the card was in my hand, but I still decided to keep playing.
It's funny because I feel like
So-
that's super fixable to be like, okay, just discard the card.
Oh, there's something in the floor rules to deal with that specific situation.
Yeah.
And it would be real hypocritical of us as a community to let that slide, because you knew the game state was broke. You knew it was broke in your favor. and you didn't say anything, that's cheating. If we let that slide, then we can't come down on, the Kowalskis of the world that are, doing some hinky shit every game.
I mean, that's why the floor rules and the points are in the floor rules, correct? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if we're saying that it's not cheating if you lose the game, then we are doing what we don't want to do, which is providing value to the attempt at cheating. Like, if it's only going to bite you in the butt if you win and if you get caught, you're just creating extra layers of, all right, I get positive value from doing this.
So what you're telling me is if I'm behind, I can cheat because I'm probably going to lose anyways, but if I end up winning, then I just try to hide it?
Yes.
I mean, if you don't get caught.
Perfect.
That has been the precedent set.
Unfortunately. But it's like not a true precedent set, because FFG has gone back. I know in Legion they went back and without any prompting DQ'd a guy, I forget from which one of their bigger events, for just being on stream doing something that he shouldn't be doing.
He was taking out those like tokens or something.
He was looking at them and not randomizing them.
That's what it was.
Mm.
And it was like the type of thing that it could have been cheating, but it was also just a blatant, like, that this is not how the rules work. You can't be doing this. He got DQ'd from that event post fact, like well after, like a week after. They just sent him an email being like, hey, you're DQ'd from that. Your finish does not count. So
wasn't he like a content creator too?
Yeah,
Or
and it was a whole big
community
thing,
leader?
because obviously that immediately, people came to the defense, and everybody's like, nah, like, he knows that he shouldn't be doing that. And he also kind of originally said that he was being DQ'd for using like promo action things, or like alternative, or like second market action things.
Yeah, like they were like marked or something.
Yeah, and then it came out, someone posted the video like, no, this is what you were doing. So it was a situation of he wasn't necessarily being like entirely truthful when he tried to call FFG out.
All right.
Cheaters, man. Cheaters.
Yeah, we'll move on from that topic. I think we're starting to get down a rabbit hole but I think all the points are super relevant, and we'll see if anything comes to changes of that. But let's talk about the end result of Satine. Droids winning. Joe, obviously, from the Hyperloops. Again, congratulations to him. Now the Loops are going for the trifecta of winning Worlds after winning Gen Con and Nova.
But does it count if Cuenca doesn't do it?
Yeah, I'd count all the...
Yeah,
I mean, it would be even more crazy, yes, if Cuenca won.
I know.
But if any of their play
as far as I'm
Collusion.
concerned, that's how it has to happen.
Just to clarify, it's the Triple Crown.
Yeah, Triple Crown.
Triple Crown. Okay.
What did he call it?
Trifecta. I don't know.
I mean, that's stupid.
That's
Close
like in
enough.
betting. Come on.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Horses.
But yeah, so let's talk about the meta breakdown. Where do we think it's going currently? Like, what do we think the top decks are? Do we think anything has changed, or is this kind of what you expected to come out of Nova?
As someone who wasn't there, I will say I think it was more diverse than I expected initially. I mean, there weren't a ton of surprises, except probably for the Palpatine. Raylo doing so well also surprised me. But that could just be down to the pilot.
Yeah, I was surprised the most about Raylo, I think. Everything else seemed pretty straightforward, and I thought Joe was going to do very well after Gen Con, and as much time as he was putting in with that deck, it didn't surprise me.
Yeah, just knowing his ability and knowing how long he's been on it. And I'm on the same boat of, like, with all these Droids decks running around, I am surprised that Raylo was able to do, and also was, like, within a few key decisions of beating Joe in the finals as well.
Was within not getting easy picked round one of probably pulling out that game.
Yeah,
I thought Ewoks were going to make an appearance back. I didn't think they were going to win, but I thought there was going to be a few like that were going to make a run.
There was a good amount hovering around, like the X and 2, X and 3.
Right.
And, like, I think they're good, and, like, even still, like, I think there's still a deck that you need to respect if you're playtesting. But part of it is, like, almost every deck can tech, like, 2 to 3 cards to swing their matchup in their favor. Like, Jabba just running Hover Tank, like, effectively can really fix that matchup.
Yeah, so we got to remember at Gen Con, the thing that made that finals so lackluster was simply that didn't exist in the Jabba player's deck.
Yeah, Taxter didn't have the hover tanks. Whereas the other Jabba player that beat Reflex, I believe, had the hover tanks in there. And it was interesting. I mean, I think they're, like I said, they need to be respected, but I don't know. I think at this point they've kind of fallen behind. Like, you need to be able to beat that burn deck, but as long as you tech a few cards into it, like Satine can just run the Cruiser or the Sudden Impact. That's still useful within their deck if they get it on one of the 3s. And the Chopper Droids is usually just pretty good into it. I don't hate Palpatine into it. Jabba can certainly.
A lot of shields.
Yeah, exactly. I just got to prioritize.
Yeah, you have a bunch of decks like Raylo and the Palpatine deck that can just
just outshield the damage up.
Yeah, you kill a few Ewoks and then all of a sudden their damage per turn drops.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, so Ewoks, I think they're. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if they win like a few primes or whatever. Like, I still think they're really good, but certainly at a large event like this, where especially every player is like teched against it and also knows the matchup, I think it'll be hard for something like the Ewoks to pull out a win.
Yeah, I feel like they just go away for a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're going to come back and win something.
Right when I drop those 2 tech cards is when they're going to, something like that.
Exactly.
As Ewoks do, they hide, they wait.
Put you right back on the bubble again, Jack.
Yeah, dude, that's where I belong.
They catch you in a net trap, and then they eat you.
Was there a Vader deck in the deck?
Yeah.
And
I forgot about that.
That is legitimately the only deck that I would have been surprised made the top cut, because I knew with you guys making the switch to Palpatine and having heard a bunch of whispers regarding that, I figured that may be a deck that would have a good showing that wouldn't have been immediately recognizable, but it was like not that hidden, whereas like Vader kind of just, he is Vader, so he can do that sometimes, but it was more out of left field than anything else.
And then he just played Chopper in top 16 and cried when he had no money to do anything.
0 resources.
Yeah. Another spicy thing I thought was Chris, I'm going to pronounce his last name, I'll just say Twig, with the Elite R2-D2 instead of Elite Han in that deck. Which I thought was interesting because, normally I guess...
It reported correctly?
I think it got changed in the Your Destiny.
Okay,
originally it was reported wrong.
I definitely saw it, and I was like, I don't remember seeing that, but then I guess it got misreported and then changed.
Yep, yeah. So it should all be updated, and I played against him, so I can 100% confirm that it was Elite R2. But that was pretty spicy, and that was cool to see him make. I think he just got to top 16. I think he lost to Jabba, which makes sense. I think Han kind of struggled with the support-based deck in Jabba, because if they spike a character, Jabba doesn't overly care. But yeah, so I mean, other than that, I mean, everything else, I think as we got closer and closer, nothing else was overly surprising other than the Kylo Ray making it to the finals.
Longevity.
But do you guys feel like this is because when you say the word diverse within the meta, I think this varies from person to person. It really depends on whether or not you see the droids decks as one deck or if you see them as multiple different decks that operate very differently. But do you guys feel like that this is overall a diverse meta? Do you feel like it's stale? Do you feel like it's the same?
I mean,
do you like it? Does it make you feel good?
Good is different.
Do you...
like I said earlier, with the fact that you basically are either a deck that can make a ton of resources or play with no resources, and that is the gatekeeping right now, that's not good.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Go ahead, Mended.
I don't know if it doesn't feel diverse, right?
Yep.
I don't think it feels that way, even though if you look on paper, it is. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the droids decks, but I see they are completely different. Like the Han is different than the Chopper and different than Sabine. Sabine plays like the old hero vehicles to me, what I've seen. Chopper's more aggro, and then I guess Han's aggro too. But it just doesn't feel like there's a lot of options to me. Like it's very set, but I don't know. It's hard to say. It just feels not diverse.
And probably looming over all of what we're saying and about to say is the subsequent news that we also got.
Yeah.
It's hard to be like, yeah, this is good and diverse when we know how long it's going to last for.
I think any meta, if it lasted for, well, let's see, when did this drop? This dropped June, July.
July 6th.
So if it's like
It was-
if a meta
yeah.
goes from July to say even if it's just January at minimum, that's like 6
it's
months
gonna-
with all major events on the same
Yeah.
meta, which is no
Yeah.
matter how good it is, I think that's going to feel stale and boring.
I also think this set suffers from having too many things that are like on the nose. Like, oh, we're going to print C-3PO and R2-D2 that need C-3PO and R2-D2 together to do things. We're going to print Rey and Kylo, and you're going to put them in a deck together because that's their
What
only
they're
real
intended
pairing.
for. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of immediately people cited in on these things because they were given to you.
Yep.
Majority of the stuff that's out now, the top decks, are all characters that just came out in the last set, correct?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the
Ewoks,
top four,
You got, besides Jabba, I mean, but other than that, he's like, you've got the droids just came out, you've got Ewoks just came out, you've got
Raylo.
Raylo that just came out. So it's like, or I mean, any variation of the droids, I guess, conquer, but they're all relatively new characters.
I mean, you could even drop down to conversions and say almost every top deck was from this block so far.
Yeah, I
but-
guess you're right. Maybe that was not a good point. Damn it, Jack.
I mean, outside of like removal suites and different events and supports, I mean, this is basically a Joji's format.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
is that because is it power creep?
I think it's
Yeah.
like
Like each
just
set? Is that what the problem is?
I mean, I'm looking at C-3PO and R2-D2. I'm like, yeah, power creep.
Yeah.
You are
yeah.
designing a ton of you're designing 5 die starts that have pseudo Snoke abilities. Power creep.
Yeah.
So it just makes every new set just makes the previous characters irrelevant? Almost.
Close. I mean, yeah, it definitely increases their irrelevancy.
Is
Yeah, the
Aphra
character
and
quality
Vader the only
jumped
one? I think.
dramatically starting with this new block, I think. And this last set just
Yeah.
released a massive amount of high quality, low cost characters.
They got a problem designing things that cost 12 or less.
Yeah, they're either
Yeah.
awful or way too good.
Yeah, usually, and then it's like anything over 16, there's just like garbage. Like
Yeah,
except
they
for
need more health. Like those characters need more health. If you're gonna run a 2-wide, it's just not enough health to deal with all these 3-wide.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's even Rey Kylo, they both have 11, and then they're trying to generate 1,000,000 shields. That's still you can still get one of them got a little early.
get one of them got real early.
Get one of them got. And
Yeah.
then you lose.
Yeah, I mean it's because like it stops scaling at some point, right? Like if you run 3 characters, all 8 points with 8 health, right? That equals out to 24 health. Whereas if you're running like Vader, he's 25. Not saying he should have 25 health, obviously, but like at some point it stops scaling and they're getting no return on their point increase in terms of health.
You're not getting point for health.
Yeah, I think Destiny Council made that point a while back, but I agree that's a major problem.
Yeah, and it's tough when you make good characters like Vader, in which they're all 2 sides and things like that. Like he's probably the best they've done, with Palp a little bit behind. But then it's like you look at something like Maul too, and it's like how is he supposed to like stand up to anything that's going on right now? Especially when so many of these decks, like part of it is power creep and part of it is just like they're all designed to go together. Where like previously it's like, okay, I'm going to take the best characters and put them together. Where now it's like, all right, here's this team that already works together perfectly. So just
And-
put all the good cards into that.
And not only is it all right, so you got all these low cost characters. You've got all these low cost characters with synergies with each other. The synergies go across color. So it's like R2's blue and C-3PO's red. You're already 2/3 of the way there to a tricolor deck, and there's no downside to running 3 colors.
Yep.
It's all upside because there's not enough spot requirements for you to care.
Yeah, the only spot you're running is 2 easy pickings, right? And that's the second
Yeah, maybe-
target
yeah,
character.
or the off the sensors.
Yeah. But
Yeah,
then,
it's
the ones
like-
that are running off the sensors, 3PO is probably not the first target.
Yeah, there's no downside to you see if you go back to like the quintessential like Magic the Gathering, there's a reason most decks don't run that many colors, because they won't be able to pay for things because you need to match. You don't have to do that in this, which is a great thing. I think that's an antiquated way of handling resources, and I'm glad that's not how a lot of new games look at it. But there's just no incentive to not run 3 colors at all times.
Yep.
Unless you're playing Raylo, and then you get villain and hero cards at all times.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that for me, the meta, I enjoy it. It feels good, but this will lead into the conversation of Covert Missions, if you haven't heard, is delayed. And I guess then the question becomes, like, what do you guys expect to happen now? Like, with this being delayed, like, okay, even if Worlds is on this format, whatever, it's fine.
Primes.
We'll roll with it.
Primes.
But, like, all the primes after that, and even through just, like, even just casual play, like, I'm still playing on the same format. Like, it's still going to wear on, like, competitive players are going to be there no matter what. I don't know.
Even they might start to.
I mean, I'll be there.
Yeah, but like it's just the type of thing. You might go to like 1 or 2 less events.
Yeah, primes it certainly could start to wear. Yeah, I when I was saying that, I meant more so for like Worlds Nova type thing.
Yeah, you already? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like they have to do some sort of balance of the force, even just temporary, just a stopgap, or some new and varied restricted lists, just to break up some decks, break up some options, make some more options viable. Because like right now, I don't see much of anything that could crack this meta wide open without new cards coming into it.
Yeah. I'm wondering if my idea was, if piloting is coming, if they're gonna go back and add piloting to the current pilots we already had, I wish they would just do that and shake it up a little bit. Then they wouldn't really have to do anything else.
Yeah, we're at least getting a new mechanic early into the game to change something up. Yeah, that's
that changes a lot with the game, and if it's going to be that way anyway, I mean, it couldn't really hurt anything. You know what I mean? If they're going to go back and, hey, Poe 2, you're going to have piloting because he's a pilot, or
he's more than a pilot, dude. More than a pilot.
That's true. He is.
Is the new flavor text for the new Poe? I didn't look at the card too hard. Please tell me it's just a pilot.
It didn't look like it. It looked like it was 2 longer words, but I don't know what they said.
FFG, you missed a prime opportunity.
Just a pilot again.
I am disappointed. Covert Missions is delayed, so get it done. Change it.
Mended, I do really like that idea, though. I think that's a pretty cool one that I haven't heard suggested yet. The other ones we've heard have been like what Eldis has said, and if they go like restricted list route, I hope they start to break it up rather than just like it just being one giant restricted list, because then that means everything.
They have to, because that's just silly at that point.
Yeah, I think they rushed it out just to get it out there, so hopefully they fine tune it.
Yeah, I don't want it to cause more problems. I'm just saying, if they're going to do that anyway to the pilots, then why not go ahead and do it?
How can it hurt when we have less things that trigger off piloting?
Exactly. It's going to go before who knows, like piloting could be completely broken when it comes out for all we know. But now it might be okay.
I just wonder if they are actually going to go back and add keywords, because it's not a trait.
I know. It's different. It's not technically a subtype.
Yeah, it's not it's a I suppose you could even have pilots that, you could have people you could definitely have cards released that are pilots that do not have a piloting keyword.
Right. And that's why I don't want it to break the game. But I don't know, again, who knows what's going to happen with that. But I think it's going to end up being more on the local groups and the content creators to help do something, because I don't think we can really rely on FFG anymore to do much. I think we have to kind of
to stream events.
Yep, stream events. We're going to have to do all of that stuff just to promote the game, to keep it around for us.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Mike mentioned it on the past Hyperloops podcast that there's no Destiny events streamed on the FFG schedule for this month.
Mm-hmm.
Which, part of it is just, I get they're going to always want to try to prop up, new product with things. But it's you have 8 days that they're streaming?
Yeah, isn't it 2 a week?
Yeah, it's just you really can't fit one day just to play, Destiny? I don't know. It's always frustrating.
They're probably going to need. I mean, they might need to revise that if they're going to have this long of a delay. They're going to have to do things they otherwise would not have wanted or did not think they were going to need to do, because this one's unfortunately going to be longer than the others, and it's probably as poorly timed as it can be.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like, I think you can't rely on them. Like, it's going to be up to I don't know, all of us to do something. Put a event together that content creators work together to create. Like, I know there's always been talk of like LoopsCon or whatever the hell we're going to call that, or some big event, like Kappa.
Like Kappa, tell me more.
Something like that. I think we're going to have to do something like that and just take it in our own hands and not rely on FFG. And if we get stuff from them, then it's a bonus.
Yeah.
Which is such like a hard spot to be in too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because you just at some point you are looking at it as like, hold on, I pay to play this game.
Yeah.
Okay, I pay you so that I can play this game. Why am I also doing your marketing?
Yeah.
Right.
Why am I doing your marketing? Your OP running events, all these things.
We do get to control our own pricing if we do our own thing, though, which could be a lot better.
That is a plus side.
Yeah.
It's going to be a rough few months if there isn't an RRG or even an RRG or two in there, given especially how a lot of the primes are kind of front loaded.
Yeah, ours are locally around Indianapolis. All the ones that are within 2 to 3 hours are all at the beginning and right in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got a bunch early. We got 3 in October.
I mean, honestly, even if they release an RRG and they say this RRG is not in effect for Worlds and it's just for those like primes that are right around there, I wouldn't even mind that.
I mean, they really could. They could just turn it loose and be like, but yeah. It almost be, you know what I mean? It's like, because like even they could be like, all right, this is from in effect for like November, December, and it's just like they drop points of a lot of the expensive characters and like really open up certain deck building options without like hitting the good stuff. It could make things interesting, but then it's also like, well, ultimately these primes are overly relevant because they, are providing world seats, which is now an invite only after this Worlds.
Yeah, but it only matters it's like, the type of thing where people used to say like, oh, you can't have a set come out in the middle of a prime season or middle of a regional season because then you have some regionals that happened with one meta and others with another. It's like, it doesn't matter. One event's meta doesn't have any effect on the others.
Yeah, I mean, I overly don't care about that. It's more like, I mean, especially product release, which they can't really control, but it's more like, oh, like, I'm going to play on this event. Oh, but they just released, like, this rules reference, which now, like, 15 characters have different point costs. And then, I don't know. It could be a lot of stress, but I also could see why it could be generally fun. But if somebody's, like, prepping for a world seat, and then all of a sudden everything's different, I could see frustration there.
Yeah, I guess you have to weigh it against frustration of staleness.
Yeah, certainly.
Which is more.
Yeah. I mean, but it also depends if they do that early enough. If they do that, like you said, if it comes out in October and like this is what Prime season's going to be, this madness, but it doesn't take place for Worlds, that's a different story.
Did an article about the delay?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah,
the Worse Are You article.
Yeah, that's the one thing I was going to complain about. You remember how their communication was better?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I dropping this in a little ask me anything session, because it calls into question like, would you have said anything if someone didn't ask?
No.
But part of it is even like frustrated. I don't know. I wish they would have just been like, we'll give you, and I get like it's probably like I always want the grass is greener on the other side. But something like this big, like to just drop that bombshell and then not immediately have like information to back it up in an article saying it has left like a poor taste in my mouth. Almost like something along the lines of been like, yeah, there's been a few hiccups, but there's an article coming to explain everything. Would have been better than them just being like, yeah, it's delayed to Q1. We'll have an article soon.
Yeah.
And I get normally I'm frustrated about like vagueness, but in this situation, I almost wish they were a little bit more vague.
Yeah. I just wish just let us know what's going on. Like, how hard would that be just to put a small article out, or even like a post like, hey, covert missions is being delayed. You don't even have to say till when. You could just say delayed. There will be an article forthcoming in the next couple weeks explaining the issues. Done. And then at least we know, and people aren't freaking out as bad.
Yep.
Nothing hurts it more than silence.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, actually, what hurts more than silence is saying that there's going to be an article and then silence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point. All right. I mean, that's
bad at making things.
We'll get there one day. Just kidding.
No. No.
All right. We'll move on to unless you guys have any other thoughts on the covert mission delay, maybe keeping things fresh or whatever. But we can move on to we got a Worlds article today, which is exciting.
Oh yeah, we did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they outlined the different formats. They outlined generally how the prizing is going to work. I've heard mixed reactions from that. But right now, the entry for Destiny, I believe, is that you just get the final confrontation artwork of Vader, almost like Emperor's Throne Room from the first set, and it looks like the Vader 1 artwork on the side of the box, and it is a deck box. I saw rumors that it is better quality than the cardboard boxes we've gotten for Store Champs previously, but I was trying to dig that up on Facebook. I thought I saw Matt Holland comment, but I couldn't actually find it.
The cynic in me thinks these aren't the same as the nice, like, leatherish ones that you got before.
No, I don't think it's as
those
good.
Dex boxes. There's no way this is like that.
Yeah. But yeah, so you get that, and then also a pair of prize tickets to kickstart their prize wall venture. And so on top of that, the main event, you'll get 2 tickets per win, a ticket per loss. And it seems like the philosophy of FFG this year, especially since it probably is the last open worlds for Destiny, they're going more heavy into prize wall, and above that they have like a giant picture of Ewoks, or a mat with Ewoks in like outer space, which I actually do love. But weird.
Spoilers for episode 9.
Spoilers for episode 9 right there.
Ewoks in space.
Yep. And then in front of that, they have these new cards, new promotion, and also shields as well. They have like a regular Stormtrooper Phase 2 one, and then they have Clone Commander Cody on there.
Clone Trooper. They are not Stormtrooper.
What did I say? Stormtrooper. Well, I said Phase 2, so I was right on the first part, and then said Stormtrooper.
Yeah, you got the difficult part.
Yeah, I got
the easy part. You punted.
I punted it.
Sounds like you were
classic
Nova.
nerd.
Classic nerd. But yeah, so those are the shield tokens, and then they demoed Enfys Nest, the new Poe Dameron, Yoda, IG-88, Vader, and Iden promotional cards. Not sure if they're spot gloss or anything like that, or if they're just the normal card.
Double-sided or whatever.
Yeah.
Information would have been terrible.
Yeah. So these look kind of weird in picture. I don't necessarily hate them. It's cool that IG-88, Yoda, and Poe are in there. But if they are like spot gloss, to me, it kind of almost feels a little bad that like Iden, Vader, and Enfys Nest are all in there because they are spot gloss cards at a GQ. But I also could see the logic. Not everybody can go to GQs, so why not make every prize available at Worlds type thing? But it really depends. Like
spot glosses might be available at Worlds.
Yeah. But like if they have like 10 to 15 characters and like 3 or 4 playmats, because they did say in addition to these prizes you'll find many more rewards that are unique to the prize wall, which are attainable with prize tickets, including more promotional cards, tokens, and playmats. So we don't know what that means. That could be a very positive thing in that there's actually 3 unique mats that you can grab, and there's 15 unique brand new cards that you could get, or the mats could be like the leftover ones that they've had in previous years from previous events and things like that, which would feel bad, of course. But overall, I think the idea that it's moving to a prize wall structure is interesting and could be beneficial, especially with it being the last open worlds one. But Scott, I know this would affect you, and you can give your perspective on like the prize walling if you would like.
Yeah, so it's the type of thing. So if I go to Worlds this year and it's very much up in the air, looking towards no, because I start a job literally that week, and I'd be flying out Friday night after a week of orientation, I know not where. flying into Minnesota to play on Saturday morning, staying Saturday night, and then flying out again late Sunday night to go to work again in the morning at a brand new job, and a brand new career for me. So that doesn't sound like the recipe for anybody's success in anything.
You're such a downer, man.
I know. But so that's on my end. But it looks at, even if I go to Worlds, I'm only there for 2 days. One of those days is the main event, and then hopefully day 2. With the way that this works, where it basically incentivizes you to participate in a lot of things, burn through a lot of pods, which sometimes doesn't involve playing games for some people, but like doing all those. If you're only there for 2 days, you kind of can't take advantage of this prize system.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not like the type of person that wants to grind a bunch of events, you also can't take advantage of this type of prize system.
Yeah.
So it does kind of like leave those people that can only get there for the weekend a little in the lurch.
Yeah, I mean, I get they're trying to make it like this giant convention almost type atmosphere of they want you to come in on Wednesday, but that's not available for everybody, as Scott explained.
And here's the thing: you can do both. You can do a really awesome prize wall, and then also like normal progression event prizes.
Yeah,
like they make all these prizes.
I mean, last year they had participation, they had top cut, they had round tickets, I think, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, they had a prize.
And the prize wall.
Yep. I mean, but also looking last year, like prize wall was Battle Droids and Spock Lost Hondo. You could get another Palpatine, and you could get another Kanan, and there were leftover tokens as well. The price last year was a $30 increase. It was $80 last year.
We're talking about last year. They were just gouging everybody because it was at FFG's event center, and they're charging $80.
Yeah.
Hey, dude, those droidica shields are sweet.
Dude, I love them. I still use them.
Same.
I do too.
But I agree with I think Scott's sentiment that like just prizes just be better. Just make them better. It's Worlds.
Yeah.
Like,
you guys are looking at this wrong. You get to be there. That's the
that's
true
the prize.
I won my right and my privilege to buy a ticket to have the privilege of attending.
Yeah, what more do you want?
Everything else is gravy.
Just don't bring just whatever prizes you get. Don't bring to Longhorn Steakhouse.
Yeah, I don't want to have to start a worldwide manhunt and investigation in case I lose my prizes while having a victory steak at Longhorn Steakhouse.
Jack and Mended have no idea what.
No,
Yep.
I'm guessing
and we're going to
Gen
leave it
Con?
that way.
Gen Con jokes.
Also, that Smurf Yoda card should be free for everybody to have. Nobody wants that.
That does look pretty awful.
No, Ray with his Yoda Bale.
I think.
Does he even with that?
Talking about Ray, did they get him to pose for the Poe card? Is that Ray?
Is that Ray right there?
You do have a point there.
It could very well be. We'll have to ask him. I don't know. He looked very childish.
I do think the
in
Vader card
ABG.
looks awesome for some reason with the blue. I think it looks
I
really good.
noticed that it looks like they're not just like these clear black. They actually have like stars and bits of stars in the background. which
Yes,
is
they
kinda
do.
cool.
Yeah.
Have like galactic look, kind of like the Ewok mat.
I think they're going to end up being like the plastic cards for some reason. That's my guess.
I'd be surprised if they weren't double-sided like acrylic, kind of like the
Yes, like
Kanan ones from last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking that they are.
But then that's like, I don't know. I wonder, I mean, I guess people who
They
didn't
could
go to
be
GQs,
pretty
but
cool.
then it's like, is Vader and Iden really going to go, and Emphas Nest going to go off the shelf if they already exist in a very similar format, and that Vader art is the same one that they used on the GQ promo?
Yeah, but you're missing the point. It's only available at Worlds, Jack.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Come on,
I'm
man.
sorry. Got
Only
it.
available at this and it might not even be just for this Worlds.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll probably be next Worlds because we'll still have
Leftover.
a whole block to get through, so they'll still be viable.
They'll still be
Yeah,
legal.
that's true.
Yes, yeah, at this rate,
Yeah, I
we're
said,
going to get rotation for a long, long time.
Let's see here. So we mentioned the participation. From that,
you got the best thing, the 64 plane.
yeah, the top 64 is a super awesome. It's the Bitter Rivalry artwork of Maul and Obi-Wan. And again, that's top 64. And then top 32 is a set of 10 gold and black acrylic resource tokens, guys.
That is, oh God.
Don't
Those
you?
More
are
resource
garbage.
tokens.
Yeah,
Hot
isn't that
dang.
what you wanted?
That one's the one where I'm like, you are just not trying.
Why would you want those when you have premium golden dice resource tokens?
You know,
Exactly.
that's the question. I actually last Worlds, I really grinded for the black and gold ones that they had. I think from the first
I did
Worlds.
too. They are beautiful and I love them.
Yeah.
But
then I got golden dice ones. I was like, oh, I'm never gonna use these again.
like I know we're not actually going to have the mechanic most likely officially until next year, but like piloting new tokens would have been really cool. Like would have been very like forward thinking.
That would have been a prize.
Of FFG.
That would have been a top 32 prize.
Yeah,
That would have been
think-
your
I
top
don't
prize
think
category that
forward
isn't a
thinking-
champion.
I don't think forward thinking's in FFG's vocabulary.
they got
No.
Poe there. They thought about it. They didn't think about piloting tokens though. But they thought about having the new set there. I don't know.
Oh my god, those cards are gonna be. It's gonna be like 4 months before those cards.
Yep.
Before you can play with your fancy black and red spot gloss.
Yep.
You gotta wait.
And then the winner, Matt, just so we get through all of them, is the hyperspace jump.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
The light speed assault, I think, is the card where
Yeah.
Holdo.
It's referred to as paprika.
Paprika, yes. Spice. Which looks cool. I mean, I think that's a cool.
Yeah.
Awesome, Matt.
I'm less of a like whatever stuff they end up choosing, except if it's cards that are like clearly irrelevant, aka Talisman of Resurrection. It's like whatever you choose, whatever art you use, that's fine. It's more of just like amount and distribution that is, I think, like the real choices that they have, because the other thing is more subjective.
Yeah. Yeah, that's that.
I mean, if they move next year when we're to like invite only, if the entry the participation prize isn't X-wing level, that would suck. Because the X-wing participation prize is awesome.
Yeah.
Which one?
The ship itself. Yeah. Well, yeah. Which one? One. You get like 7 things.
You don't
but
get
yeah.
a ship for participation.
Yeah.
What?
They get the Plo Koon. That ship is the participation prize.
Oh, they're looking right now.
I know.
Oh yeah,
scrolling.
There's a bunch of cards.
Most impressively,
that you
all
get for
X-Wing
sure.
attendees will also receive an exclusive alternate painted Plo Koon ship, complete with a maneuver dial, ship marker, and token set.
So all of that thing in that graphic, that is their participation prize.
Man, they get a ship. That's pretty wild.
Yeah, an alternate painted ship.
I get a cardboard box and a pair of tickets.
Premium cardboard.
Yeah,
Premium cardboard.
cardboard.
It's
I don't
lacquered.
know. Oh, maybe they'll knock it out of the water. Maybe this box will be beautiful, and
Maybe.
maybe 2 prize tickets will be able to get me something super sweet from the prize wall.
Unlikely.
Unlikely.
So as we mentioned earlier, though, I'm going to run through the schedule for Destiny. So the main one is Friday and Saturday for 1A and 1B. We talked about that. That's standard. They're doing 8 rounds with all X and 2s advancing. And then, yeah, so that's looking like a top 64 if our guesstimates are right, of 250 to 300. But for the schedule, everything kicks off on Wednesday. Destiny kicks off pods, and those will be $5 for standard or trilogy, $20 for draft, $25 sealed. And those start Wednesday, run through the week. But it looks like they're also doing individual tournaments as well throughout the week, which you'll be able to get these prize tickets to then use on the wall. It's like you're at Chuck E. Cheese. At 11, they're having standard on Wednesday, and then at 1, they're also doing 40-40, which I think people have guessed is a oh gosh, what is it called for Magic?
Highlander.
Yes, Highlander, where it's like you have a 40-point team and 40 cards, but nothing can
So you
repeat
can
or
only have
something like that.
One copy of everything.
Oh, Commander?
Commander, yeah,
I
whatever.
think it's called Highlander in Destiny terms.
Gotcha. But yeah, something like that. They haven't put out specific information for these yet, so this is just speculation at this point. But last year, Worlds was literally just pods, and they were $10, and these are just $5 for pods. And then the tournaments are $10. But I think it's really cool that they're having stuff. It's a shame that Wednesday I won't be getting into 1 o'clock, so I won't be able to do the 40-40 Highlander, Commander, whatever.
Earlier.
Get in earlier?
Says the guy that isn't getting in at all.
Yeah. But that's cool. So it seems like they're doing that stuff, having that throughout. Like I think they're doing 3v3 for Destiny on Thursday. They're doing the Highlander is what it says here. Star Wars Destiny Infinite 40/40 Highlander.
Okay.
On
Yeah, the 40/40
Friday.
on Wednesday just says 40/40. The other ones that they're doing it says Highlander. Infinite Highlander.
Infinite Highlander. Interesting. And then there's a Convergence Spark of Hope draft on Saturday or Sunday, sorry.
Yeah, because people are going to want more of those cards.
Yeah, imagine if that was a Covert Missions. That would be
If that
so
was a
cool.
Covert Missions thing, that would be as popular as the main event.
Yeah. But if you're looking for that, again, FFG posted that article on the website. You can go find it. It's called A Duel in the Stars. We also shared it on our Facebook page as well if you are looking to go there and look at the prizes and things like that. But overall, this Worlds is looking like pretty solid. More than pods last year, which was fine enough. I still had fun doing it because the community at Worlds is really a blast.
Yeah.
But the added extra formats and things like that is really like just having a standard tournament on top of it, but then just like the bonus of the 3v3 and the 40/40 seems really, really good to mix things up.
Yeah, for sure.
It is startling in contrast, whereas you're saying it was $80 entry last year and $10 pods, and then this year, not on site, $50 entry, $5 pods.
That is a plus. That is a nice improvement.
Yes, that is. I mean, the other one was highway robbery.
Yep.
This is better.
Yeah, it definitely is. And
With more overhead.
we'll be getting much more. I mean, so part of that too, like, I guess why they're giving Destiny less. Like, it really depends how big the prize wall is, because like,
It also depends on how much the tickets go for. Like what?
yeah.
Each thing. Yeah.
That's
'Cause
what I
if
was gonna say. A
it's-
lot of this could be a total failure, or this could be like the best thing they've ever done. But we really won't find out until Wednesday, October 16th.
Probably not. Yeah, you probably won't get any additional information
Yeah.
until then.
So, well, I mean, they didn't even reveal last year. They didn't open up the prize wall until Thursday, I think, or like whatever. I don't know. I think Joe and I got there on Wednesday last year.
Oh my God,
We
wouldn't
did
that be
pods.
funny if they didn't open the prize wall until Thursday?
Yeah. Well, we did pods and we did a bunch. We're like,
Here's-
all right, let's go see what we can get. And they're like, oh yeah, the prize wall's not open tomorrow. I was like, what if there's literally nothing I won and I just
Breaks nerds.
wasted?
Here's like, this is the type of thing that would have me waking up in a cold sweat if I were an FFG person that had to run this event. They've had a lot of issues getting the prizes to events lately. There's been multiple occasions where people have had to leave events being owed prizes. What happens if all the cool stuff it just didn't come in time?
Yeah.
That would be like the nightmare that I could foresee happening because FFG can be the stuff of nightmares.
I know it happened at Gen Con and Nova, so
Yeah.
I think it happened in like I think there's people in Canada that are still owed things from last year.
wouldn't be surprised.
X-Wing
It's
players.
Canada.
I honestly think they are.
Jeez.
Joe didn't have his dice block, man. At Nova. And also the side events that they did, which were just hidden motives and executioners, they didn't even have for the day of the first one, the trilogy, which I believe was Friday night. They had to get those like overnighted to get there Saturday.
Yeah, so hopefully.
Which is they had those. Like that's crazy to me. You're literally coming from FFG. Now they just had to waste money to overnight a box of something like.
Yeah, you forgot them.
They didn't forget. They didn't forget the Marvel stuff though.
They didn't.
No, they didn't.
They did not.
How was Marvel Champions, Jack?
It was fun. It was a blast.
Here, everybody listening that plays Marvel Champions, Jack flipped Iron Man to Iron Man on the first turn.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah, I didn't know that he had a card size less, and nobody explained that to me until I drew, and I was like, okay, we're too far behind.
Thanks.
Yeah, this is what I moved
Wait,
on.
do we know if they're going to be demoing Marvel Champions? Well, they're not going to be demoing Marvel Champions at Worlds. It'll be out by then, I think.
Well, it could come out the next week.
Could come out the next week. Could be delayed.
It'll
Who
be at
knows?
Kappa.
Allegedly.
Okay,
This
so-
just in, it's delayed until Q2.
Oh man, that would be awful.
Yeah, I would actually. I don't think I could deal with both.
There'll be an article later.
Don't worry, later, soon, TM. But yeah, Worlds is looking like a blast. Anybody that's going, there is the content creator giant meetup that Artificery is heading up. That'll be on Friday, the 18th. I forget the actually exact place that it's at, but there's an event page like in the group. So if you are going there, you can go in the Destiny group, find the event. If you are a Golden Dice patron, we owe you a drink. So make sure you let me know that you will be there, and I will make sure that I get you a ticket, which is redeemable for one
They
drink.
should just buy Brian drinks.
Well, we'll be Friday. We'll be after he played. So he either could drink and cheer that he's making day 2, or he could drink in very, very frustration like he can get.
Drink to forget.
Yeah, that could be. Or he could just drink Thursday again like he did at Nova and then wake up the morning of the tournament and throw up. And then somehow stumble to the event and then happen to get the first round bye.
Boot and rally, man. Let's go.
That's what he did.
Not happen to a better person.
He needed
Brian,
it.
I love you.
He needed it, man. But yeah, so we'll be there for that. Worlds is going to be awesome. If you're going, let us know so we'll be able to hook up, do a pod. I still need 3v3 partners because apparently Scott's leaving. Just kidding. Me, Brian, Eldis. Sorry,
You
Flock.
got 3 other people. Literally, I'd actually solve a problem.
Well, no, we still have the problem. We have 4 people.
Oh, okay, well, yeah. The problem, yeah.
Eldis, when are you getting in?
I was planning on talking to you guys about that. I'm not sure what the current game plan you guys have is.
I know Brian and I are flying in on Wednesday. Flockton was talking about driving out with Alan. So I don't know what their exact
That's right.
game
He's in
plan is.
Albany, right? Something
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Washington's turned into like a trucker.
Upstate New
always on
York
the
does
road.
that to you.
I would most likely be flying out.
We need to get him a CB
If you guys are
radio.
flying out Wednesday, I can plan on that too.
Dope. Mended, when are you getting out there?
I am not going this year.
You're not.
I am having a child here soon.
What is
Oh my
with
gosh.
people and the kids?
I know. I don't know what happened, but me and Banana Crabshoot and like Tommy all at the same time.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, congrats, Tommy, by the way.
Yeah, his kid looks. I mean, I haven't seen the kid in person yet. I've seen the pictures. He looks like a bigger version of the first kid because the first kid came early and this one came late.
Kind of
look
makes
exactly
sense.
the
You know?
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anybody
Like
that
a
didn't
We're
know,
gonna have a fun breakdown of all of Tommy's kids because he's not done.
Tommy's kids here.
That's-
I think he's gonna stop at 5.
He's gonna stop when his wife tells him to stop.
Yeah.
Well, I think he'll get up to the amount required to fire off a weekly. So he needs one more kid, and then if he just shows up with his kids, he can fire off a weekly.
That's brilliant.
That
Yeah.
is-
He's playing the long game.
Yeah.
Because his kids will show up and Shane won't.
Yeah, exactly. Can't rely on Shane. It's useless. All right. Any other thoughts about anything we talked about, guys? Worlds, Nova.
Wait, do you know if it's a boy or a girl?
Yeah, girl.
Ah, crap. I've been throwing it out there like I'm trying to bribe people into naming their kids Scott, and I'm like, I'll pay for the kid's college education.
I'll name her
That's a
Scott
deal.
if you're going
Yeah.
to pay for her college education.
I'm betting that in 18 years that might not hopefully be a thing anymore.
Scott's tots,
Yeah.
baby.
No, Scott's playing a very clever game because either A, we'll have universal tuition, or B, America will not be a country that has functioning colleges or universities. So, Scott, that is a very wise bet. I would take you up on that too.
This is literally
Scott's
Scott's
tots.
tots, guys. Literally.
Yeah, I will
Like-
not accept laptop battery as payment.
Oh, that's amazing. I thought you were asking what
Post-date
Tommy's
the
kid's
checks.
gender was for a second. I was like, Scott, how do you not
No,
know
it's a
that?
boy. His name, yeah, I know. You know.
Not
boy.
named Scott.
His name is Carson
Yeah.
Wentz Philippi.
I mean, he got Carson as the middle name for the first one off of a bet.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
hope he
I
names
think
his next one Brian Dawkins Philippi.
I thought you were just gonna say Brian for Brian.
No.
You want his
as
kid to
much
be
as
a
I love
raging
Brian,
alcoholic?
There's more
I mean,
important Brians in my life.
he's out of grandfather names. So,
Oh, God. We're going down a rabbit.
Have
We got
Peter
podcast questions. We got questions.
do we have questions?
Oh, we do. Oh, we do.
Jesus.
All right, I'm going to bounce over to them. Banana asked, what was Flockton going to play before we put him on Palp? He was going to play Elite Django, General Grievous, Sentinel Messenger, and was convinced that I was good.
No.
Ugh, that's the Tommy brew.
Yes. Yeah, and if you watch the stream that we did, the weekly stream we did before Nova, you would have not ever considered. Tommy gave the saddest look in playing the game.
I'm sorry, Tommy, but that deck was trash. I tried it, man. Ooh.
Yep. I think we all did. So, hey, man, sometimes he hit gold, sometimes he hit that.
I mean, it happens.
15-month-old, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
not the best playtest partner.
Yeah. It's not the
He
clearest.
does let go of the dice now, though. It's a plus.
Inception asks, when is Mended on, you cowards? Right now. That's when he's on.
Yep.
Wrecked.
Alan asks, who's going to make an event first, Tommy's new kid or Shane?
We already answered this, actually.
Yep, already answered.
Tommy's new kid, yes.
Yeah, I mean, the first one's already playing Destiny. That's something Shane can't claim, so.
Truth. Flockton asks, would you make a change to your deck if it hurts you in one matchup that is considered favored for it to help you with the matchup that is considered not favored? The hopes of increasing your odds against the not favored deck. For anybody that doesn't understand this question, so as previously alluded, Brian got really drunk Friday night before Nova, and we were talking about, we had one doubt in our deck, and we were looking to add EMPs because we thought Chopper was a rough matchup, and we figured adding EMPs could be relevant. We discussed adding them over one doubt, one Forsaken, maybe both Forsakens, whatever it was. Both Forsakens, obviously, we kind of came to the conclusion that was probably a little too crazy. But then it just came to doubt versus EMP, and Brian is sitting there at like 1 o'clock in the morning just raging at us about doubt. He's like, why would I do that? If it's a bad matchup, why would I ever try to make it better? And we're like, isn't that the point of adding cards to make it better? Like, isn't that what you want to do? And he's like, no. I'm like, but like Jabba, wouldn't you just add 2 hover tanks to your deck so you can beat Ewoks? He's like, that's not the point. And I just throw out like a ballpark percentage of like, say you're 80% against Jabba and like 20% against Chopper. Would you add in a card that would drop 10% to 70 for Jabba and increase your bad matchup to up to 30? You know, just ballparking random percentages. And he's like, you're hooked on the 10%. You don't know what you're talking about. And he's just sitting there yelling at Flockton to shut the F up anytime Flockton opened his mouth. Meanwhile, Adam in our room, Adam Landon from Cap Cup, he stayed with us. And he went to bed early, and then we come back to the room and argue for an hour about doubt versus EMP with a drunk Brian.
And we even got the peripherals in our group chat.
Oh, it was great.
Well, at least we stopped you from taking both Forsakens out for EMPs.
I thought that was a little crazy. I mean, Forsaken's a little hard to pull off, but it's the value of it is super insane.
I'll be upset if we don't have drunken arguments at 2 a.m. at Worlds.
It'll happen. Trust me.
To be fair for Brian, I don't know if I would take something out that would drop a good matchup from 80 to 70 and raise a bad matchup from 20 to 30. I think I might just be comfortable with.
Yep, I agree.
With a bad matchup?
I would just take the bad matchup, because if you're already at a really bad position to win that matchup anyway, then I would just make your deck stronger against your stronger matchups.
It's how I drafted my fantasy football team. All of my players have a week 10 bye.
Boom.
Might as well.
Yeah, just lose week 10. Who cares?
Yeah, you don't have to do well in the regular season of fantasy football. You just need to make it to the playoffs and then win. That's why I drafted Kareem Hunt, because I make bold choices like that.
Proud of you. But yeah, I mean, the overall, like, the percentages was just like a made-up thing. Like, I think cutting doubt doesn't actually hurt any matchup in any way, and if anything, it just adds to the droids.
I think doubt for the EMP is actually a very good call.
Yeah, that's I believe the advice Tommy and I had given was keep away from your Forsakens, cut your doubt.
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty much where we were hovering at. But
I think Forsaken was more of the card that actually might be like you lose some percentage points in one matchup and gain them in another.
Yeah.
Just because Forsaken can be so good against even like the Satine droids when they roll out like a hired muscle or a what's it called? Fickle.
Yep. Yeah, I got a few of those off.
Unless you're playing against Joe.
Then you'll never hit it, and then after you've gotten past possibly mitigating, then he'll roll into the numbers that he needs.
Exactly.
It's the Dirtle effect.
The Dirtle effect. Yeah. Okay. Next one's from Jank It Up Fuzzball Brian. He says, will the GDPQ running crew be running a team deck at Worlds just like Nova, or can Brian still play Savage Asajj?
He's not allowed to do that.
I mean, honestly, personally, if he does a really good job testing with me and gives me real testing, I don't think I overall really care what anybody else runs on the team, as long as I get good practice and settle on something.
So you don't care about the team. is what you're saying, Jack.
No, I do, but I'm not gonna.
Huh?
If Brian makes the conscious decision to run Savage Asajj, I'm not gonna beat myself up over it. I'm gonna tell him not to do it.
Play test with it.
Yes, but I want no parts of ever playtesting with it. I want Brian to do well. That's why I told him to run Palp. And I would tell him to run literally anything over Savage Asajj, but I'm not going to cry myself to sleep if he ends up running it and then goes 0-8. It's just, that was his decision. He's an adult.
I would suspect that the answer would be mostly, but no.
Yeah.
As far as like complete uniformity, I can imagine if I end up going, there's like 5 of us. I could imagine like a 3-2 split, or a 3-1 split, or like a 3-1 or 2-1-1 split if Brian goes off the deep end.
I think of say, let's assume Scott goes. I feel like me, Scott, and Eldis could easily land on the same deck, where we're okay really molding to whatever, assuming we get testing with it. Where Brian and then especially Flockton usually like to try and play something that's a little offshoot of it. Brian still likes to stay on the competitive end, but as Flockton, we know he can kind of go off super deep and just run Talzin and Iden, and that's it.
I don't think he'll run Palpatine again because he just ran Palpatine.
Yeah, he definitely tries to avoid meta decks, and I know Brian doesn't really enjoy running droids. I mean, I think he would do fine if he were to like decide and take that. I'm not saying that he can't run that, but he usually tries to do that. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a 3-1-1 split or a 3-2, like you said, or a 2-2, I guess, if you don't go. But we usually, I mean, unless there's something that we find game breaking, we're like, wow, this is crazy, which I doubt by that point we would find.
Yeah, that would be the only way I could see everybody being on the same deck, is if someone tripped, dropped all of their cards, and then it became like a Rain Man moment. You see, wait a second.
Yeah.
Well, not all of you guys shared the same playstyle either, so I think that plays a bigger role into it.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's an element of it.
Because I don't play 3-wides. You know what I mean? So I try not to play any 3-wides, even if it is the best deck. If there's a tier 1.5 deck that's a 2-wide, I'd rather roll that and not play against mirrors all day.
Yeah, and I think that's what originally I was still on Satine, but after testing with Palp, I got pushed onto it. But I know that was part of Brian. He didn't really want to do like the 3-wide, but also didn't want to run like Raylo, which then puts you in a weird spot of like, what am I actually going to run? And then so luckily Palp was still a good call.
Yeah, as long as we convince him to stay away from Iden.
Flockton, yes. Yeah, we got to make sure he stays away from
Flockton.
that. But yeah, we usually go to our play styles, and that's kind of who we are. This just happened. This was almost an outlier of all of us running the same deck.
Yeah.
Right.
I usually just run what Tommy tells me to run. But, he's got kids now.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I usually trust Tommy's insight and input almost more than anything else.
Yeah, I actually, some of my best finishes have been like, I got 2 games the night before of a deck Tommy told me to play, and then I did well with it. Like Tarkin Snoke.
Imagine if he had told you about the deck a week earlier.
Imagine. Although he probably did, and I
GQs go.
probably just didn't play it. Next question, Flockton, are we going to get drunk one night at Worlds, or will that just be Brian?
One night,
Both.
ha,
Yes.
all nights.
All of the above.
Again, the Friday
Answer.
night meetup should be a good time, so. But there's also a good chance that Brian is drunk every night, yeah.
Oh, man. So the meetup's Friday night. I really need to go then, because Saturday is just going to be, everybody's going to be hungover.
Yes, and we'll have already played too, so.
Or have already played.
Yeah, we've all played Friday, nothing on Saturday, and if we make cut, it's Sunday.
Damn, it's a difficult decision. Means not sleeping for like a week.
Yeah. All right, and then last few questions are from Bat Manderson. It says, if the cap and registration issues are fixed favorably for Destiny players, is Nova the best venue to host this championship? What do you think needs to change, if anything? I don't know if it's the best. I think Nova's actually really good if they were to fix a lot of their, I guess that you could say that with anything. If they fix their issues, they'd be great.
If they changed what they were intrinsically.
But last year was good. They're 2 days, both like 100 cap. Like, I thought that was fine.
Yeah.
You could change it. Last year was the top 16 each day, so it actually made for a pretty deep cut because it was like 60 people on each day. But like Nova itself is actually pretty nice. I know DC's maybe not the greatest to fly into, but like that area is nice. The food truck setup is nice. The actual Hyatt Regency is a really nice place to stay at.
I know we had the issues with the cap and the registration, and then what other events were in the room with you guys?
There was Keyforge and Imperial Assault.
And there wasn't even enough seats for the 107 people.
Some
people played out in the hallway.
Did that end? I don't know if that ended up happening. It might have.
All right. Well, allegedly someone posted about that, but
I know they were setting that up at some point. They were talking about it, trying to figure out if they had enough room. I don't know if people ended up getting bumped out of the room.
Those seats, they went nowhere. They went to things that already existed. So they didn't go anywhere. They just didn't schedule things right. I know that they also had issues with Legion, where the start of the first round, they didn't have much terrain on the tables because they had lost some of their terrain.
That's more of an FFG thing, though, right?
Yeah. No, because Nova supplied their terrain.
I thought FFG brought it last year, but didn't bring it this year.
FFG brought it this year. Nova supplied it this year, and they would not let the TO, who is local to that area. I think he might actually own a game shop or operates out of a game shop. They would not let the TO or the local community bring any terrain.
Oh well,
because of reasons that don't make any sense regarding their status as a nonprofit company, so you allow these judges to donate their time, but they can't donate materials.
Yeah,
that doesn't. So there was that issue there, and then the other thing with the fact that they decided to schedule the finals at noon.
Yeah.
So there's a number of things that leads Nova to not have been the best run event of the year.
How far is Nova from you guys? Like where you live?
3 hours with traffic.
Okay.
So I understand.
Traffic.
I'm a little bit biased in that too. Like I understand that I really do enjoy having Nova because it is the fact I can do Nova and Worlds comes from a place of I can drive to Nova.
Yeah. Well, this is why I was bringing up that because I'm local to Gen Con, right? Because I'm an indie, so I'm biased to that also.
Yeah.
So the only problem I have, which I'm assuming you would have a similar problem with Gen Con, is the timing, right?
Yep.
Is I wish Nova was at a different time and they weren't so close together because it makes it really difficult to go to both events. Even if Worlds isn't in October, it makes it difficult for me to go to Gen Con and then Nova because the price of Gen Con. But you get so much with Gen Con, it's not even fair to compare
it's a different thing. You're not going to Gen Con to just play Destiny.
Correct.
Or you can, but I wouldn't advise that.
Right. I can't financially go to Gen Con, fly to Nova, and do that, and then go to Worlds. It just doesn't work out in such a short span. So what are your thoughts on, do you wish Nova stayed the same place, but Gen Con was a different time? Or
I think you could just add, a part of me would just rather add more grands rather than, if we did something where there was something somewhere in Texas or somewhere in the South and then on the West Coast and then another one in the Midwest in a decently spread out time. I feel like that could change things. But also, to me, the structure of, say, if we stuck to one grand and that grand was in, the springtime, it would make sense for primes to go into the grand, to then go into the Continental, to then go into Worlds. Yeah. The buildup of that makes sense to me.
But it seems like the structure is going to what X-Wing does, and they have their primes throughout the year. It's just all the time. There's primes there's wave 1 and then wave 2 is getting ready to start. But I think, I agree. I wish there was more grands and I wish they were spaced out. I wish personally, I wish they would make Adepticon in Chicago grand because I think Chicago is really easy to get in and out of and travel for people. And because it's in March.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's good.
I do think the West Coast is getting left out, and they should get something. But
yeah, I think it's a both thing. You could still take it away from Nova, and I understand after this year especially. And you move it, whether you move it to Adepticon or I think people even suggested Origins in Columbus.
Yeah,
which is an option too, but then you still run into the time frame because that's Father's Day weekend, early June.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of cutting it close. But I think you could change Nova, but I would still like them to add 2 or 3 more grands to the U.S.
Yeah, I don't mind them keeping Nova. I just want more of them in general. I think would be better. You can keep Nova, but I think you need to add 2 more grands and try to space them out.
Yep.
Generally speaking, though, I agree that you should not have your North American championships and then 10 days later you're American.
American.
It happened the same thing in Europe too. They had the German and then the Euro nationals. It's like you're gonna hurt your own attendance there.
At least they
that's
can
why
recover.
They only had like 32 at the nationals because people 4 days later Euros was happening.
Yeah,
that's really bad. Really bad.
People have things to do other than play Destiny.
Yeah. And
that's not the attitude of a champion, Scott.
Europe can recover from that though, because then there's like 4 other grands that they could relatively attend
they
in a
do
close
have that
distance.
ability given
Given
their
Europe's
state
setup.
size to their very densely populated countries.
Yep. All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Still from Batman Anderson. He said, props to you for running 2 wides last weekend. Are there any other pairings that are close to Raylo or Palp level? I'm going to say no, but I'm not a definitive statement on that.
Yeah, like on their level, probably not. There's some I'd say could be on the fringe. I mean, Vader, he has his showings, he has his moments. There are times where Vader can just win because he has such good dice. Yoda, maybe Yoda and Bale, but I literally have not seen that deck enough just being played generally to really have a good gauge on how well it does into most of the meta as it stands. Probably because it's not very good right now.
I got Kylo 2 Dooku 3 close, but it just can't get through droids.
Dooku would God, I feel bad for the amount of like weight he would have to pull in that deck, but then the amount of times that he would die very early.
Yep. And then that deck has no money.
Yeah, that's the problem.
We're again
Back
a
to
lot
the
of the
point
two
of that,
wides
yeah.
don't work because they don't have the ability to, unless they're like a big little like Palp, Watto, Madi, whatever. They don't have the ability to generate a ton of resources to deal with getting disrupted too. Where they're, Kylo Ray, which you can get disrupted too and still have a grand old turn.
Yeah, your character dice are so strong and can be resolved multiple times.
Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing. I mean, Beckett is always on the interest list for me. He's a character. Yeah, and at 15 points, you could even sneak in a 3-wide with him, but he's somebody I always want to keep my eye on and see if he can break into the mold. He'd be somewhere where I would potentially start, but...
His 3-for-1 is probably what hurts him in the disrupt meta.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because he can make some money, but he can't make a ton of money while also paying for his own side.
Hey, Edwin Chen Spice, the 4-Lam Iden deck. There you go.
I mean, I think 4-Lam in a wider variant, maybe.
Yeah, I mean,
4-Lam Grievous Sentinel. Is that
Yeah.
that is. From what I understand, that's pretty good in trilogies.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of metal beef.
Yeah, and then you add in 2 of the,
if you know what I mean,
whatever the other thing is.
Yeah. If Shane's piloting it, Kess Hask for sure.
Yeah, he just rolls 2s. That's where Flockton gets it from.
Yeah. No one will.
Kess Hask?
No,
I'm sorry.
Yeah, Iden Hask.
Okay, I'm like, wait.
I'm sorry.
I was like,
Yeah,
that is illegal, sir.
I was thinking of
Is he
last
making
meta
more
Kess
fun of
Rex.
Shane?
Yeah.
If it's a 2-wide hero or villain red deck, Shane will pilot it to a championship victory, but he'll never play in a tournament, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, Shane hasn't left like 2-wide red guns in the past 2 metas.
Shane hasn't ever left 2-wide red guns.
Fair enough.
Why are we talking about Shane?
That's a good question. All right, and the last one from Batman Anderson says, where was Snoke and why can't he be in this meta?
Quote him directly. He deserves it.
Nah.
Come on, Jack.
Oh.
Do it.
I don't feel like editing anymore.
Do it.
You guys already make me edit some. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think there's like anything that's overly relevant that you can run with him.
So yeah. I think A, it's a problem with pairing options, but B, just looking at it at face value, like they errated Snow to stop him from using his power action because it was really degenerate with non-damage sides.
Yeah.
And then this set they've released the droids who literally do everything they were worried about Snoke doing, basically for free, and you still get a third character.
You get a 5-die start.
Yeah. He's just dead.
Yeah, I don't think he can operate in the world that he's in, and a lot of like his best pairings too is like with some of the troopers and stuff or executioners, and they all have pay sides as well. So he's just living a rough life. And there's like no 2-drop like weapons that are really efficient and have redeploy. Like they're like, I remember, gosh, was it Worlds? I don't remember. Like Snoke, it might have been Nova actually last year when Snoke Executioner started to gain some traction. But it was like obviously everybody knew Blue had some broken stuff in like, the ancient lightsabers and just had really good 2-drops and shotos and whatnot. Whereas that's just not prevalent. It's like if you run that deck, like what are you running now anymore? You're not really getting value out of anything.
You're not even getting anything on the table.
Yeah. Well, even if you had the 2 money to
generating
spend,
a ton of money, you're not going to win.
Yeah.
And that's what they can all do really well.
Yep.
Can you imagine it being a deck now where you're like, the play you want to make round 1 is to roll out a character, resolve that character for a resource so you can play a 3-cost upgrade on your other character? Like, that is as far in of a
strategy
goal
now, yeah.
as possible anymore.
Yep. All right. We are an hour 45 right now, so we're going to wrap up. Mended, do you want to give any plugs, any shout-outs before I give ours?
I guess I'll just shout out my local group, Indie Rogue. We get together on Thursdays and hang out and play a lot of different Star Wars games. And we got Outrun and Ice Cream Lando and a couple guys here local. So that, and then obviously Loops. So
cool. All right.
Triple Crown.
What's up?
They're going for it.
They're going for it.
That's the best. I mean, hey, at least they've given FFG a ready-made storyline for Worlds.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If only FFG would run with that.
They won't.
I know. They should let us book it, Scott.
Exactly. Just don't go to a Longhorn Steakhouse with your trophy there.
Yeah.
Joe.
Also, hey, content creators, stop trying. Scott, you got this one too, right? Stop writing articles about quitting the game.
Man.
Just write one.
Just one.
Just one.
Just one.
Hey, get out of your system.
All right.
And then be done.
The shot is fired. It's in the box. It's being delivered. All right. Plugs for us. Golden Dice will be streaming a Prime on October 5th from Escape Pod, one of our buddy Nathan's stores. He just opened up in Pennsylvania. We'll also be streaming the Kappa Cup, which is October 26th. If you're in the Pennsylvania area, or even if you're not, we had people come from far out. It's in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's a really nice area. And the 26th is the Destiny event, which will be a Prime. We'll also have some side events, but they also do Legion and X-Wing and all these other things. I think there'll be a Keyforge event as well. So you can go to kappacup.net and see what's all up there and register for whatever it is you might want to do. But at least come out to the regional. Last year we had, I think, 35 people just for like a regular fan-run event, whatever. And pretty much everybody walked away with a prize. So now add in the fact that we're also now getting an actual prize from FFG.
So I won a raffle too.
Yeah, they did. I mean, it was crazy how much prize they had. So it's definitely a good bang for your buck because you figure it's $30, I think, just to come and do that. And most stores are charging $20 anyways. So for $10 extra, you're going to get some extra swag to do that. So Kappa Cup's a great event. But on that, for us, we're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, Twitch. We're back to our weekly sessions. Everything should be good and calm down of Summer and Nova. And then at this point, we'll just be gearing up and getting excited for Worlds. And again, if you're a Patreon, let us know that you're going so we can make sure we have a drink ticket for you. But if you're not, just let us know you're going as well because we'd love to meet up with you guys, say hi, all that good stuff. Any other parting thoughts from Scott or Eldis?
Nah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Cool. All right, Mended, thanks again for coming on, and we will catch you all next time.
It's like SOLOSOLOSOLO. Living my life ain't got stress no more. I'm putting on my shades to cover up my eyes. I'm jumping in my ride. I'm heading out tonight. I'm solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. I'm Han Solo. Solo.